Hey guys, it's Hedwig here, back from a long hiatus. I'm not officially back yet, and is going to go back into hiatus again. I wasn't initially planning on making any more videos, but I thought that leaving without a word for almost a year wasn't a proper way to say goodbye. Therefore, I'm making this video and I hope you all like it. Hinata slipped on his new volleyball shoes, fresh from the shoe box. His mom had bought him a pair yesterday, and Hinata made sure that it was squeaky clean to wear it this morning. He tied his shoelaces tight, making sure that they wouldn't come undone in the middle of the day. Of course, he didn't forget to slip on his gloves and his mask. "Mom, I'm going to school." The petite tangerine departed to school, making sure that the door was safely closed behind him. He wiped the handle with a wet tissue and rode his bicycle to school. The contraption was so clean that it reflected the sun's rays off of its handles. Hinata made sure to skillfully avoid all muddy puddles to retain this cleanliness. "Hey." Kojima playfully pushed Hinata, maybe a bit too hard, since Hinata fell onto the ground. A grouchy Hinata aggressively turned around, glared at Kojima and then rushed to the bathroom. As he sprinted across the school, he made sure to yell out a not-so-threatening warning to Kojima. "I won't forget this, just wait." Kojima sighed and watched the small tangerine race across the school to get to the nearest sink. Hinata shouldn't be overreacting so much, he was fully covered after all. The tall boy leisurely walked into school, knowing that Hinata would get even angrier when he was inevitably late to class. Horizontal ellipsis. This is all because of Kojima. Hinata rushed across the school grounds and into the classroom, 2 minutes late. He had been washing his hands for 5 minutes straight when he heard the bell ring. Minaho, Hinata's teacher, gave a quick glance to the boy and went back to taking attendance. Hinata walked to the back of the classroom, hung his backpack on his chair, and swiftly wiped down every one of his possessions. "Hinata?" Hinata didn't answer, as he was too focused on wiping his desk. Minaho was used to his germaphobic perks by now, and simply marked him as tardy. Horizontal ellipsis. Hinata was now going home. The day had gone by pretty slowly. All Hinata remembered was Kojima's antics, a boring lecture, sanitization, another boring lecture, and then volleyball practice. Today, Daichi had announced that Hinata and Kojima would be participating in a volleyball training camp. Hinata was elated and jumpy for the rest of the day as soon as he received the news. "Excited?" "Yup." Hinata convulsed up and down as if he was having a seizure. "Don't worry, he's not hurt, he's just like that sometimes. I can't believe the camp starts tomorrow." "Exactly. I'm glad they finally recognize my talent. Wait, is that a meat bun?" Kojima was holding a meat bun in his hands. He had fetched the snack on the way to school. There was only one, and Hinata slowly watched the juicy bun moving up to Kojima's mouth. Kojima's lips were curled up into a smirk. Hinata briskly snatched the bun from Kojima's grasp and ate it. Never mind, he didn't eat it. He just held it in front of him, careful not to smear it against his mask. Kojima took the meat bun right from Hinata's gloves and popped it into his mouth. "Germaphobe. Still can't trust my cleanliness? Arg, you're too sloppy to even care about sanitization. Of course I can't eat a meat bun right from your dirty hands." Hinata stared in jealousy and hunger as Kojima gobbled down the sumptuous meat bun. A holy aroma encompassed the area as Hinata tried his very best to contain his hunger. I'll get going, see you tomorrow." Hinata ran off into his sweet home, shouting for a meat bun as soon as he entered. Kojima shook his head in disapproval and walked under the streetlights for a few minutes until he arrived at his house. Horizontal ellipsis. Itachiyama? What's that? Stupid, that's the school hosting the training camp. They must be really strong then. And they are. They have Sakusa Kiyoomi, one of the best spikers in Japan. Hinata and Kojima were sharing a pamphlet in a cramped bus, examining each and every word. Hinata was excited, but as always, clueless as to what he was getting himself into. It was Kojima's responsibility to control this jolly child. "Whoa. That's amazing, I'm so excited to see everybody there. Wait, is that the Tokyo Tower?" Hinata pointed at a red and white tower in the distance. The tower seemed a bit too short to be the Tokyo Tower. "Whoa, I've never seen it before. So cool." A group of teenagers sitting in front of the duo chuckled. "That's just an ordinary transmission tower. They're so dumb, haha." Hinata and Kojima blushed and tried their best to ignore the teens for the rest of their ride. Horizontal ellipsis. Hinata looked up at the grand gym laid out in front of him. The gym's floor was adorned with a shining material that was not wood, shocking for a country bumpkin like Hinata, and there were several big names sitting on the benches, waiting for the rest of the members to arrive. Hinata jumped up and down, looking around. He investigated every single player, looking for the people he might recognize when somebody caught his eye. It was a tall boy with black hair, curled into dainty strips. Through the spaces of his bangs, you could occasionally see 2 piercings on his forehead. When his bangs swayed in the wind, it seemed as if he was teasing you, showing his charming piercings for 1 second and concealed it for the next. The only facial features available for observation were like lethargic droopy eyes, displaying its own charm. Also, he was wearing a mask. At that moment, the boy glanced at Hinata and displayed a mild interest. Hinata avoided his gaze and poked Kojima. Kojima. Kojima turned to Hinata, who was now irritating him. What? Do you know who that is? Hinata pointed at the masked boy in the distance. Kojima squinted, identifying the yellow-green uniform he was wearing. Well, he's from Itachiyama. Kojima squinted some more. Oh. He's Sakusa Kiyoomi, the one I told you about in the bus. Sakusa Kiyoomi. Hinata started approaching Sakusa, but was interrupted when the organizer called for all players to line up at the front of the gym. Horizontal ellipsis. Today was so refreshing. I learned so much. Everybody is so good here. Hinata and Kojima were going to the cafeteria to feast on some food. They were getting pretty hungry after all the matches. Hinata had brought his own bento handmade. It had cute little egg rolls and some rice. Simple but delicious. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Hinata departed on a treacherous journey to the bathroom where he tried his best to keep himself clean and safe. He was washing his hands when he heard a few other players entering the bathroom. The food was so bad today. Exactly. Inarizaki is more low quality than they make out to be the food and the players. Player 1 was about to speak but was interrupted when the green stall door slammed open. Behind it was Sakusa, still rocking those slick black piercings. Saw Sakusa. Sakusa frowned, looking down at the two as if they were a minimal nuisance. He then proceeded to walk out, heeding no attention to the presence-less duo. Hey. One of the boys stopped Sakusa, grabbing him on the shoulder. It seemed as if Sakusa had scratched his dear pride. You, what's so good about you, that you can look down on people like that? Sakusa frowned and continued ignoring the boy. Hinata finished drying his hands and started walking towards the door, past the stalls, past the urinals where he started to slip his gloves on, and into the sink. The proud boy decided that he wasn't going to let some guy insult him, even if the guy was the Sakusa Kiyoomi. He pushed Sakusa to the ground, who fell onto the tangerine, whose face sunk into a dirty sink. Sakusa seemed bothered he fell onto the grimy bathroom floor. At the same time, he was relieved as he was fully protected, and no skin had touched the ground. Sakusa glanced at the boy under him. You okay? Get up. Hinata didn't seem to hear Sakusa. Hello? Sakusa started to hear heavy breathing coming from Hinata. The tangerine slowly stood up from the bathroom floor, shaking. Hinata looked at his trembling hands. He didn't have enough time to slip his gloves on and his bare hands had touched the ground. Hinata felt a sort of peculiar but unpleasant tingling coming from his hands. There was gray muck and some gum stuck on his palms. The breathing got heavier and faster. Hinata flips his hands over to see that the gray muck had reached the back as well. Hey? Sakusa finally saw Hinata. Shoyo looked dumbstruck, as if a tragic accident had happened before him. Shoyo kept on looking at his hands. Now there was a teardrop melting the gray muck into a liquid. Hey. Hinata looked up at Sakusa, tears dropping down his little face. It's so dirty.